Let's do a deep dive on teal sapphires. So teal sapphires come in a very wide range of, from blues to greens to light greens. We're gonna do a breakdown of all the different colors that you can have, the color zoning, the price points as well, just so you guys can get a little bit more educated, because these are stones that you're really going to want to find the right color for you for your engagement ring. So let's jump into it. My name is Dominic Flex. I'm a custom jewelry designer that specializes in engagement. You can always send me a DM or an email. My links are below if ever you want to work together. So let's start with the most important, and that's really going to be the color, because teal sapphires, I would say, come generally within like the more green to the mixed, so the teal, and then they're going to fall more into the blue tones. And so that's really a preference of what you would like. As you can see, these three options of stones here, you can really see the transition of color. I think that no matter the color you go, I would try to not go too light, and I would try not to go too dark. Because once we start to go too dark, like this one here, you're going to start to find that they don't sparkle as much. Because basically what ends up happening is that if it's too dark, then light can't pass through the stone, which means that there's no light passing through to then reflect off of the facets, and that's what gives it its pop. And so that's why, this one being a little bit darker versus, finding one that's even slightly a bit lighter, you can already see that there's more fire in the stone. And that's kind of what you want, when you're buying an engagement ring, you really want it to be like that popping effect. And so that's very important. But then again, you can go full on to the other spectrum where, it starts to get too light like this one. So it's not necessarily ideal. I do have clients who want pastel, but then that would be pastel and not necessarily a teal. Again, here's a really beautiful example. Here you have a sapphire that's a little bit more green versus one that's a little bit more blue. So I would still consider them in the teal family, but it gives a very different aesthetic completely. Now let's look into kind of like bicolored and color zoning. So a lot of the teal sapphires come from Montana and they come from Australia. Like by default, anytime I'm looking for teal, they always tend to be coming from these places. Of course, there are others like Madagascar, it's not exclusively to that, but they kind of like triumph in those colors. And a lot of the times I find that they will have bicolored, tricolored, or color zoning within the stones. And this is really beautiful. In my opinion, I would definitely look for a stone that has these kind of tricolored properties because it just gives so much more nuance. Like for example, take this one, which is really just green. Okay, it's really green in comparison to, like, let's say for example, this one that has highlights of blues, even a little bit of yellow, green, all within the same stone. It's really eye-catching, and so that's why I would probably choose that. Like this one is the perfect example of color zoning. So this one is a lot more dramatic. As you can see, it's a very yellowy green in the middle, and then you have blues on either end. So this is definitely an acquired taste because, it's not like the traditional aesthetic, but I think there's a stone really for everybody. And that's why I love sapphire, because you can literally find anything and everything. So that's like an extreme example. And otherwise they're going to really just be like mixed in, and it just looks like fantastic. All right, so now let's touch on prices. So most people generally want to start around the 1 carat mark, especially when you're talking about, sapphire and green sapphires. It's not the price of a diamond. It's also not the price of a blue sapphire, right? So sapphires kind of go, I would say there's definitely elements of popularity that are going to influence the price, right? So a teal sapphire is going to be less desired than a blue sapphire, and so the price will be significantly less. So just to give you a concrete example, let's start around the 1 carat mark, because that's generally what people start around. We have 1 carats, slightly greens to blues, and you're looking at about $1,500 to, let's say, $2,500 for a 1 carat stone. That's very, very good in terms of like engagement rings. I think that the one thing that you want to keep in mind is that sapphire is way more than diamond. Why is that relevant? It's relevant because if you have a 1 carat diamond, it's going to be about 6.5 millimeters in diameter, so the size of it, versus a sapphire, because it weighs more, a 1 carat is going to be smaller. It's going to be about 6 millimeters in diameter. So that's really important. You need to keep that in consequence, because you don't want to order a 1 carat and then you're going to look at it and you're going to say, oh, it's a little bit small. Well, that's the reason why. They also tend to be a little bit thicker on the bottom half. And so again, it's not going to be cut like a diamond. So even if you have the same cut as a diamond or the same carat weight as a diamond, it can be a little bit smaller. So just keep that in mind. But generally the prices are pretty reasonable. And I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you know, if it goes too dark or too light, it's not good. It's definitely also going to change the price. So for example, this one is a more desired green, and you know, you're looking at almost like 1.9 carats and you're looking at, let's say, 3,500 for the stone, versus this one is similar in size. However, it is a little bit paler and it's going for, let's say, 1,900. So it's a very big price difference, even though it's just slightly paler. And so that's why sometimes clients, when you do have a little bit of a smaller budget, going a little bit paler is not the end of the world. It's also going to be a more vibrant stone because, again, more light's passing through. So it kind of is like a little bit of a personal preference. I tend to like a little bit of a paler stone. Like this one, for example, it's very, very pale. I showed it earlier, and you know, you're looking at almost 5 carats and it's, you know, 4,300. So the price per carat is significantly less. Like it's not even $1,000 a carat. So as you can see, going too pale can really influence it. So now let's touch on to some eye candy. So let's go into the larger carat weights, just so that you guys can get like a general feel for like the price jumps. Usually my clients are around the 2.5 to 3.5 carats. So these are more realistic if that's what you're looking for. So this one is a beautiful cushion. It is a tiny bit dark. However, as you can see, it still has like a lot of light that passes through. So I don't mind it too much. But this bad boy is about 4 carats and it goes for like 8,000. So it's about $2,000 a carat. I think that's very reasonable for the size. So this one's in the 3 carat range. I really love this one. As you can see, there's a slight lighter color zoning in the middle of the oval, which I really like. It's about 3 carats and it goes for 5,300. So yeah, this one's a really one that I like. This one's a little bit more peculiar. This one, I would say, because it's a very specific yellow, like it's a yellowy green and you don't see that many options like this. So this is a 3 carat, but it goes for 9,000. It has a really nice brilliance, and again, I think it's just because you don't really see this color, so it's hard to come by, and I feel like that's why it's hitting a bit of a premium. So this one's a really interesting comparison. So I get a lot of clients who will ask me for no heat stones. I want to really specify that having a heated stone is not bad, right? It's just a tiny enhancement that still considers your stone natural. It's just that when you have one that isn't heated, if you're able to find one that isn't heated, it means that it's naturally occurring like that, which drives the price up quite significantly. So these are 2 examples of teal sapphires. So this one is a little bit green and it goes 5 carat for about $9,000, versus this one is a no heat. As you can see, it's a little bit more blue and about the same carat weight, and you're going for $20,000, over $20,000. So the price jump is quite significant. Had it not been heated, obviously it would have been a lot less. Just to give you an idea. See, we also have this one here that's a no heat for about 2.58 carats, and it's over 7,000. So had it not been heated, because as you can see, it's a lot paler, it would have been significantly less, probably in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. So it can really add on a price tag if you're looking for the no heat options. All right, guys, let me know if you have any questions or comments. If you are looking to create a custom engagement ring, you can always just send me a DM. My links are down below. We have a really large selection of stones. So if ever you guys are curious, you can always just send me an email and we can see about working together. So yeah, my name is Dominic Flex. Thanks for watching. Bye.